Well, boys and girls, here he is. The boy that says the words you've been longing to hear, like the salivating dogs that you are.
Resident Evil 2.
Yes, it's finally here. The only part of the series people wanted to see, the room section. So a quick rundown of what's going to happen. You put down a couple of GameShark codes, you magically appear in a locked room, and you explore. See all the cool stuff that was cut or changed. The word of warning isn't needed here. Just look out for the crash symbol and me telling you where it crashes. Also a reminder, if you want to do this yourself, you need the GameShark with the Switch. With that being said, get comfortable, grab a liter of Cho-Cho Cola, and enjoy the finale of Resident Evil 2 Director's Cut. To start the tour off, you're going to input the following codes: main location, sub-location, and walk-through walls. Main and sub-location refers to the room numbers in the guide. X is replaced with the single digit in the room you want to go to. Double Y is replaced with the double digits here. There are 45 rooms total you can explore, but luckily you don't have to edit the GameShark codes for all of them, as most rooms are connected. You will still be editing main and sub-location a lot though, so get used to it. As an example of how this works, I'll be using Versus Book's example, the statue hallway. When you start the game, you'll end up here, but Leon is not visible. That's because the game is trying to boot Leon in the streets where he usually begins, but he's somewhere else stuck in a wall. What you have to do is press L2 and up to activate the walk through walls code. Usually, you have to run around wildly until Leon pops up, but for this location you just have to run straight. Sometimes his shadow will only appear. If this happens, just hold L1, R1, select, start, and try again. This method seems difficult at first, but you'll get good at it. One good tip from Versus Books is run straight for about 47 seconds and count slowly, like 1 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000. Turn 90 degrees, or tap left twice, and run straight again. It's not 100%, but it helps a lot. What I do if I can't get Leon to pop up, sometimes I'll fire a round or two and hear how close I am. The bullet rounds also drop, so look out for that as well. You'll notice that when you turn on the walk through walls code, Leon's left arm disappears. That's just to show that the code is on. Turning the code off with R2 and up puts it back. If you want to hold Leon at all times, you can do so by replacing the last 4 digits in the second line of the walk through walls code with 110F. It's better to keep the one arm as it is because it tells you if the code is on or not, and you'll most likely turn off the GameShark because if you leave the room with the GameShark on, you're just going to respawn in the same room. Remember, all codes stay on, including main and sub location. One last thing, you're going to need the unlock all code. As titled, it unlocks all doors and drawers. Also, there's no point in carrying all the keys with you. Nothing special happens when you use them aside from unlocking doors. You'll see a box of ammo on the right side. On the other side of the room is an umbrella box that I assume was a placeholder for the step ladder. On the top shelf is another box of ammo, on the bottom is an H-spray. You can then run on air, but you won't be able to get down. This cabinet displays gibberish when checking it. You must tap X twice to return. Center shelf and back shelf crash. First thing you'll notice right away is that the door is an electronic door. There are no real changes in this room. The items you can get in this room are the D key, handgun ammo, and the shotgun. The lockers with C4 crash when you check them. This is most likely the reason why this room was blocked off. This room has some slight changes. The boarded up door at the end of the room has an electric panel instead of the lockers. As seen earlier, a blue Chocho Cola is placed instead of the brown vending machine. This room contains 2 zombies and a box of ammo inside the small desk. Everything that can be checked crashes the game. No changes to the library at all. To even enter this room, you will need the Everything's Happened code. More on that later. Checking the nook where the chest plug is causes a split-second delay. Text was most likely planned here. You can get an up-close view of the vase here. Wonder why they took that out in the final. All the bookshelves crashed the game, except the last one on the 3rd floor. Speaking of which, if you enter the door on the 3rd floor, you end up on the 2nd floor hall. When you start the game in this location, you get a perspective not shown anywhere else in the room. This angle will not change until you head left. There are 3 zombies present and a couple of boxes at the end of the hall. Even more interesting, there is no ladder to the 1st floor, but checking the balcony will show you an angle of the entire bottom floor. Unfortunately, the game will crash. First thing you'll notice is that there is no audio, aside from the music I'm playing. You will notice this on rooms that are early in development. Also, as you're already seeing, there are placeholder models and blocks. The walls seem to be way out of place as well. It looks like alternate camera angles were originally planned. I don't know if it's a mistake or not, but there seems to be a bottom floor in this room. The walls you run into are different from above, despite the angles you are seeing. No real changes in this room. There are 3 zombies, 1 female, which has a male voice for some reason. You can check everything in this room, it doesn't crash at all. I do understand why they blocked it off though. The other rooms were not finished. Having only this hall available is kinda pointless. Don't open the door to the first floor hall. You won't be able to go back. East Wing hallway is pretty much the same. There is no audio, which usually means there is no text programmed into the room, so nothing really crashes. Both interrogation rooms can't be accessed, most likely wasn't ready to be walked in yet. The room does have an extra bench that was removed in the final, and the door leading to the press conference room is brown. The press conference room is quite possibly the biggest change in the entire game. As you can see, there are a lot of tables and chairs thrown everywhere. It really does look like some sort of attack happened here, or an attempt to barricade the room. The walls are out of place, but it does look like it was close to being finished. It's most noticeable in the podium. There's nothing that crashes the game here as well. The cross design on the door is more noticeable in this room. I believe the door was changed to green in the final to match the club key. There are 3 zombies present in this room, and nothing else. Everything can be checked, but it is all blank text. One exception to this is the safe. Checking the safe will crash the game. Unless you add the everything's happened code. Again, more on that later. The East office does have one minor change, but it's an interesting one. At the far end is a medicine cabinet. Checking it gives you an aid spray. There is no door on the left, but checking the wall reveals that it's programmed in the game. There are minor changes to the roof, such as the barrels being gray and the absence of the red light. The walls seem out of place, but that's because the camera is farther away than it should be compared to the final. They probably didn't get around to this fix when they were asked to release the demo. Once you enter the Crow hallway, you won't be able to go back, as there is no door. The crows are actually in the demo, complete with their animations and death. The windows are already broken, which means the jump scare wasn't programmed in the game yet. There's a locker that was removed in the final. My theory is that it was removed because it would have cornered the player when Mr. X shows up in the second mission. Most of this room remained the same. Don't check the helicopter at all, it will crash. If you have the valve handle, you can put out the fire. The water animation is a bit different from the final. This room has no changes at all. The room visually remains the same. There are 2 boxes of handgun bullets, an ink ribbon, and an aid spray. The valve handle is not present in the room. Opening the door to the outside cabin triggers a zombie sequence, but the game crashes afterwards. You can check the door with the Everything's Happened code, but the text is the same as the final. The outside cabin room visually remains the same as well. There are 3 zombies and a cabin key in this room. The box on the bottom right of the cabin was removed in the final. The parking garage shutters have Japanese text. The only change in the Scenario 2 streets is that there are 8 zombies in the demo and only 7 in the final. The helicopter hall remains the same. The 2 zombies are missing audio. The art storage room is unchanged. There is one painting that has random text. Looks like a crash, but it's not. All the other art pieces, on the other hand, do crash. You can pick up the special key and the bolt plug if you have the red jewels on you. Checking the maidens and the statue will cause the game to crash, before and after interacting with the puzzle. Once you're done, just walk out the door and burn in hell. There are no changes in the second floor save room, with the exception of a lone book. Checking it and the magazine rack crashes the game. Chief Irons' office is a very exciting place. All the display cabinets and shelves are empty, as the developers were probably still modeling the animals. Other furniture was still in the blockout phase. Chief Irons and Catherine Warren were probably still in development, so placeholder characters took their place. There was also another body on the long table, which was removed in the final. You can check the front door of the office. You'll be able to see from behind the helicopter, but a wall blocks your path. The zombie that's on fire can only watch from afar. The art room hallway is completely empty. It never got past the blockout phase when the demo was created. Interestingly enough, you can also enter this room by going to the secret elevator that leads to the torture room. The torture room can be accessed, but it's a singular room and there's no exit. As you can see, there are items in the blockout phase as well as the ceiling. Before we begin this section of the tour, we need the Everything's Happened code. Remember when I was mentioning it earlier? Well, we absolutely need it from here on out. The entire basement will not load without it. Why? Well, Versus Book's theory is that the game is trying to load an enemy or event that is not on the disc. So here it is. This code is insane. And by insane, I mean really long. Just look at it. It takes 9 slots. As you can see, the last 4 digits aren't listed. They're all 4Fs. Once you input this list, the game will load as if every event has happened, every item picked up, every door unlocked, and every enemy killed. The guide also mentions that you get to see cool stuff like this, but honestly I didn't see that much aside from the empty safe and helicopter wreck without the fire. If anything, this code is great if you just want to check out the developer locked rooms. Now you may be asking, why didn't you do this from the start? I have actually. Most of the clearer, more colorful footage is gameplay with the code on. It gets rid of the hassle of fighting enemies when I want to show the rooms. As I have stated in a previous video, I want to show where all the items and enemies are placed in the demo, as well as show where the game crashes. Anyways, let's continue with the tour. The yellow hallway has 2 changes. The first one is the windows. They are boarded up with wooden planks. I actually thought this was better. Gives it a zombie-esque movie vibe. The second change is the stairs. I assume this is supposed to be monster slime. Going back up shows metal stairs. That was most likely a placeholder. There are no changes in the officer's quarters room, with the exception of being able to walk through the table. The basement hallway, for the most part, has not changed. There are a couple of stretchers by the autopsy room, most likely removed in the final to have more space to fight enemies. The only difference in this room is that the lockers are not damaged. The only change in this room is a slightly different generator panel. Body bags were removed in the final, which I don't know why. They're pretty cool and don't get in the way. There is also an added stretcher that was removed, and as you can see they had already removed the wall for it as well. The dank basement is missing all the extra assets, such as barrels, gas tanks, and other stuff. It's completely barren. The pipework is also a bit different from the final. There's only one change in this room, and that's this mystery door. Can't interact with it, can't find what's on the other end because there's no data. My theory is that this door led to more cell blocks, that they still had plans for the room from the 1.5 version. But that's just me. No one really knows where this led to. Entering the kennel or the cell block will crash the game. The walls on the first cell are mirrored, most likely to copy and paste the cells, but the developers never got around to fixing it on the demo. The second cell cannot be entered. Surprisingly, you can exit to the hallway. There are certain graphics that you cannot access whatsoever without the graphic view code. This code allows you to see close-ups of certain parts of rooms, different angles, and the like. Why were these rendered? Again, who knows? My only guess is scrap puzzles or dynamic angles that were cut for some reason. To use this code, replace XX with the location number you want to go to. This code is only limited to main location 1, You cannot view location 0 or 2. Make sure you turn off the sub and main location GameShark codes before booting the game. This is the important part. When you start the game, after the Capcom FMV, hold triangle and press start to begin a new game. Continue holding triangle until the game begins. You can skip the typewriter sequence while holding triangle. Begin as always, activate walk through walls and run straight. Before going down the stairs, deactivate walk through walls, hold triangle again as you go down the stairs. You will end up in the east wing hallway. Leon will be to his back, so turn him around and run straight until the first screen appears. Now press circle. This activates the code. As you walk along the hallway, the graphics from the room you picked will begin to appear. Now it may be confusing at first because the walls seem to be all over the place. Remember, even though the graphics change, you are physically still in the east wing hallway. One warning, when you reach the end of the hallway, the game can crash. This applies to some of the locations, so gauge where the second to the last angle is to avoid this. If you don't, it doesn't really matter. These tours are very short and you still need to reset the game to choose a different location. And with that, we have reached the end of the tour. Thank you very much for watching. I really enjoyed making this video. I've used this disc so much since '98 that it started to scratch. Just look. Isn't that great? I love it. I feel like I went above and beyond getting my money's worth. I think I paid like $20 when Resident Evil 1 Director's Cut came out. Anyways, this video has been on my bucket list for a long time, and I'm glad I finally decided to make it. It was gonna happen someday. Resident Evil 2 is one of my most favorite video games ever. Again, thank you very much for watching.